Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this Friday edition of the Daily High with your host Matt McGregor and Tone Vase. Tone and I almost got into a heated conversation about what happened in the Nasdaq and Tesla and the stock market yesterday and how it affected Bitcoin. And I said, Tone, shut up. I don't want to listen to you talk. Let's film this motherfucker. And so here we are. Sorry for swearing. Happy Friday, everybody. Tone, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I was like, hey, just stay up for the live show. We're going live in 60 seconds. And I'm like, all right, let's go. So with no further ado, let's go to the charts. I wish I tweeted some of these charts out, which I rarely do anymore. We begin today on the NASDAQ. Ironically, this to me is the most important chart. As you guys know, on Wednesday, we had an MRI top candle. And I stated that, hey, now that the MRI on the daily on the NASDAQ has topped, where we had a weekly MRI top last week and a monthly MRI top this month, this creates the most perfect potential for a stock market correction. We talked about this with Mark Wood earlier this week as well in detail, and I've been mentioning it all week that I've been expecting the markets to top any day all week long, starting on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday. And here we are, the top comes in on Wednesday on the NASDAQ, and we have to compare this with the S&P. Here's the S&P on the daily chart. The MRI did not load. Let me refresh this chart so that the MRI loads. You can see that on the stock market, the MRI top came in a day earlier. I believe it was on Tuesday, with Wednesday being an update. But remember, the NASDAQ didn't top until Wednesday. That's why I was perfectly okay giving the stock market an extra day. And the NASDAQ tops Thursday. The S&P also tops Thursday by like 50 cents. And the second half in the afternoon, even though we were still rallying during our show yesterday, because the show took place at approximately 10 a.m. We can go into a closer look on, say, a 10-minute chart. When exactly did it top yesterday? Oh shit, what a surprise. It was at exactly 10 a.m. Look at that. You can't make this shit up, man. It's at
Yeah.
exactly the 10 a.m. candle. The S&P tops. See, this is why I sometimes get very frustrated that my focus is doing videos and setting up streams and texting people about my conferences instead of, not no one knowing who I am, sitting at home trading the markets with the 10 a.m. reversal like I used to. Man, so tempting. So tempting to like disappear from the world and take full advantage of this candle. 10 a.m. candle, 10-minute chart. It was all over for the S&P. Now we are rallying. We're going to talk about that. But more importantly, I expected the reversal coming. Now everything starts with a 1 to 4 candle correction. In this case, the candle is a daily candle. It tops on the S&P. It tops on the NASDAQ. Sorry, that's not the NASDAQ. My bad. This is the NASDAQ. I just have Tesla here. It tops on the NASDAQ. Probably same thing, 10 a.m. I'm going to check it just in case, just out of my personal curiosity. When did we top yesterday? I'm assuming it's 10 a.m. because that's where the S&P topped. It was No, it was later. Wow, look at that. The Nasdaq topped at the end of the day. Interesting. Nasdaq actually topped at 3 p.m. There was a 10 a.m. reversal, but it did make the ultimate high later in the day. Either way, let's go back to the daily chart. Tesla, the stock I've been talking about since at the end of last week, I was expecting a top any day, and there it was. There's Tesla dropping 8.5% yesterday, taking the stock down to below the levels of the MRI candle completely, even the candle before that, and down to the middle of the candle before that. So we're going all the way to pre-July 4th. It opened down this morning. It has closed the gap. It is currently rising. But so let's talk about the stock market first. And this is why I talked about the stock market first, because yesterday Bitcoin was very, very bullish. Let's go to the hourly chart of Bitcoin. This is the 1 hour chart of Bitcoin. Yesterday's show, here is the 8 a.m. hourly candle. We were just starting to drop when we were doing our show at around 9:30, 10 a.m. Don't really remember, but it was somewhere over here. Bitcoin was at 58,500, coming down from 59,500. And I was not very bullish on Bitcoin. And the reason is because I was scared that the stock market was going to reverse yesterday. If you go back to yesterday's video, I'm pretty sure that's what I said, because that's what I was thinking. And the stock market reversed like I expected. Therefore, Bitcoin took a big nosedive along with the stock market down to 56,000. This is why I've been more bearish than normal over the last few weeks, if not for an entire month, is because Bitcoin has not been able to rally with the stock market. And now that the stock market has rallied so much and is due for a significant pullback, it makes me unreasonably concerned about how Bitcoin is going to perform. I'm one of those that do not believe that Bitcoin would rally against the stock market. Bitcoin would go up when the stock market goes down. If the stock market goes down, I believe that Bitcoin will go down as well, regardless that it was opposite the stock market when the stock market was rising. And then eventually they will turn and rise together. So on that note, I was pretty bearish on Bitcoin yesterday. Now today is Friday, so it's very difficult to gauge what the stock market will do the rest of the week. If today wasn't Friday, I would be somewhat pessimistic. But because today is Friday, I think today the markets can rally a little bit because they fell so much. I don't expect Tesla to go to 260, but it can certainly make it all the way into the 50s, somewhere in the middle of the big red candle yesterday. So everything is going to be decided on Monday, Tuesday of next week. If Monday, Tuesday of next week, the markets, whether it's NASDAQ, whether it's Tesla, and we can, you know what, let me glance at NVIDIA before I go back to, yeah, look at NVIDIA's nosedive yesterday as well. A monster bearish engulfing candle going back below. This is also something I had a kind of expected. I believe I said it yesterday. I thought it was unlikely that NVIDIA would make it all the way up to the highs again before another pullback. So let's go back to the NASDAQ, and I will mention RUT. We can take a look at the Russell as well. The stock market is very, very important here. This is why I'm not starting off with the price of Bitcoin. How serious is this candle? Remember, we are on a monthly MRI top. This could be a 1 to 4 month correction that just started yesterday. We are on a weekly MRI top, and we are now lower than the close of last week's candle with a reversal candle in the works. And now we're going to go back to daily. Is this the start of a more serious correction? Now, let me go into detail on what I consider a serious correction. I am still a long-term bull. So for me, the worst case scenario right now on the stock market is a 1 to 4 monthly correction. And we talked about the incredibly bad CMF on the weekly chart. So I am looking at a 1 to 4 monthly correction to go as low in the worst case scenario down to this line here, and I'll tell it to you in percentage terms because nominal terms don't really matter. So off the high yesterday, this would be a, let's say, a 10% correction. I'm just going to round to the nearest 10. A 10% correction in the NASDAQ and a 10% correction in the S&P probably. Let me put the same line up. This is the line. Let me get the correction in place right here. And that is S&P only 5.5%. Good. Even less. Now, 5.5% on the S&P, 10% on the NASDAQ. That is my worst case scenario. My timing for the worst case scenario is from now until October. Markets love to find a bottom in October. That's another thing I've been talking about for years. Those of you that have watched me, I have been screaming about certain October reversals, and almost all of them have come true. So in this light, what is the worst case scenario for Bitcoin? Well, I still think 40,000 is my worst case. Sorry, 48,000 is my, not the worst case, 40,000 is the worst case, but 48,000 is the more realistic case because Bitcoin has already been weak. And I don't think it's going to crash much more, but the same timing applies. I think Bitcoin will start to reverse in September, October, and Bitcoin might reverse ahead of the stock market. Because Bitcoin was dropping ahead of the stock market, it may actually reverse earlier than the stock market, and hence predicting a little bit what the stock market will do in the fall. Now, that's the worst case scenario. What's the best case scenario? Well, the best case scenario is that everything I said is wrong and the crash has already completed. We had a 1 to 4 candle reversal on the daily chart, and it's over, and we're going to begin a new weekly MRI count. We're going to begin a new monthly MRI count, and the daily has already corrected 1 to 4 days. The variance in between these two are unreasonably wide. And here's how I know which scenario is going to be. We're going to take it one day at a time. We were able to time the correction perfectly on the daily. Now we wait for 1 to 4 candles. Within the next 2 additional candles, we will know if the market is breaking all-time high. If the market is breaking all-time high by the second half of next week, then we are ready for another leg higher. If the market is breaking yesterday's low by the middle of next week, we know this is likely to be all the way into an MRI buy on the daily. It's going to be a 1 to 4 weekly correction. And then we can start looking at a really bad month, and then we can decide whether this will eventually become a 1 to 4 monthly correction. So today I would do absolutely nothing. I would not go long, I would not go short, and I would probably wait till Tuesday to decide which scenario it's going to be. And based on how I feel the stock market will be on Tuesday, Wednesday of next week, I will then have something to say about Bitcoin. Therefore, I have nothing to say about Bitcoin whatsoever, and Matt, off to you because it doesn't matter. As crazy as this analysis was, this was probably the most different analysis on this show in 6 months I've ever done. Matt, your turn.
Mate, I thought that was brilliant, and I don't know how I'm going to follow that because what you said, I was really stuck with me here. The fact that the correlation between the S&P 500, the Nasdaq, the stock market, and Bitcoin has broken in the last few months, where the stock market and the Nasdaq has continued to rise and Bitcoin has fallen. The correlation has been broken. I definitely can see a case where what happens is the stock market crashes, the Nasdaq crashes, Bitcoin continues to crash. They both reach the bottom at the same time, and then they both correlation joins again, and they both rise. And you alluded to that in your analysis, and I can definitely see that as a possible case. Before I go into the charts, and I'm going to be really brief because I can't keep that energy that Tone's brought to the table today. Please like and subscribe. Please share it with your friends. I'm happy we might possibly be 21 seconds away from entering a trade on Bangbox right now as I'm doing the show with hands free, which would be really fantastic. So to join Bangbox and get a free trading bot, please use the description links in the description below. Join the Discord group. It's coming on the 22nd of July. It's going to be absolutely massive. It's not just Bangbox that we've got coming. We've got more bots coming as well, which have 100x leverage. So you can put a small amount in it. There's no rollover. It's a winning strategy with 100x leverage. It's a really, really fun bot to play with and generate some returns from. All right, here we go. All right. I don't even know how to follow this. I'm gonna start on we just ended the trade on Bangbox, which we'll get into as we go through it. So I'll go down the time frames. End of the week, Friday, we're still below the 30 simple moving average. It's I would love to close this week above the 30 simple moving average, which would happen at the moment 58,600. We're at 58 now, so another $600 rise with 2.5 days left would be really fantastic for me. I feel like that would be a really good weekly close, the best you could hope for with what's happened in the weeks that preceded it. But other than that, there's nothing to say. We went through it yesterday. The copy curve is now crossed down negative below the zero line. The EXA, which I'm really excited about, has dropped down very, very low. And when that does cross, I'll be very, very excited. A couple of my really close friends, Tone, that you know, from the financial summits, reached out to me and asked for clarification on what some of these oscillators were. They're looking at to develop their own indicators based off this, and yeah, I hope they do. That's fantastic. The copy curve is already built
Hey, we
into.
should get the creators of these on the show.
Yeah, that would be something that we could definitely look at, man. That'd be fantastic.
Well,
But
the copper
copy
curve might be a little tricky, but the other one.
Yeah, the other, yeah, Bowman we could definitely do. The copy curve is already built into alpha. You can see right here with the purple phantom signals, and so don't worry, we've already got that covered there. Daily time frame. We've had a good day. Remember we said yesterday's show that we were above the 7 simple moving average, but below the 200. We had come back down in yesterday's show to touch on the 7 simple moving average. We closed above it, and we're building back above it now. Not bad. If this could get above the 200 and above these 59,500, which is still a very, very long way to go, it would be a green star on the day on the MRI. Nothing to get excited about, but as I mentioned in yesterday's show, I don't hate this as a bottoming pattern because, or at least for a swing trade, I don't mind it. Not thinking long term, but as a clear swing trade, I don't mind this at all because you have a really well defined stop loss. And as we go down into the 4 hour, in this period right here, just below the price, is a cluster of moving averages, which we could definitely could support your stop loss as well as we go down, which we'll do right now. Tone, can you just hit mute on your mic there for a second? We're getting a bit of a feedback loop happening. Yep, lovely. Oh, it might be my computer. Oh, my computer's buzzing. It's one of those things. All right, this is what I'm talking about. On the 4 hour time frame, we've had a pretty good 4 hours as it stands right now with an hour and a half left. Nothing too sensational. It's still a lower high as far as these are concerned. It's like a little downward triangle thing. But as I said, we've got a cluster of moving averages here of the 7, the 30, and the 50 all bunched together. So a stop loss, at 56,700, $1,000 lower than the current price, because it seems like a reasonable trade as far as it's the sort of setup that I like. It's considering that what preceded that was a lower low and a higher low and a higher low again. Not terrible on the 4 hour time frame for a setup. The EXA's doing its little cross. The EMA is now crossing above its moving average here, which is above the 50 line. Don't mind the 4 hour time frame right now. But what I'm really excited about is we've had a trade every day this week on Bangbox, and it looks like we've just entered another one. So I'll close off the other indicators, turn on Bangbox. So 1 second, please. Yep, we've just done the trade. So this is what it looks like in the back end. So the trade opens here, bang. We've got a stop loss put in place. Excuse me, at 57,300. This is a trailing stop loss. So what we want to do is get to at least 20%.
Is that what that little line is? Is that's the stop loss line? That little line?
Yep,
57.4?
that's right.
Okay. Okay.
That's the initial stop loss when the trade is opened. Okay. So as the price moves up, the trailing stop loss will move up as well.
Moves up. Okay.
It moves up and it trails the price. And when it gets to fucking sorry, 2 weeks of having a goddamn flu. The really cool thing is like there's like an ultimate stop loss at 2% because it's a 10x leverage trade.
Take profit.
So
Take profit. I mean,
yeah, it's a take profit, but what happens is it doesn't immediately take profit at that point. From there, it sets like a different kind of trailing stop in place where anything that gets like a 1% drawdown with 10x leverage on it, from there it'll trail it. So it'll just the stop loss trails while we're under 2% move, which is a 10% a move. Sorry, what am I saying here? That's a 20% profit because of a 10x leverage. So while
Well,
we're under,
don't give too many secrets away. Someone's watching this and just gonna write their own.
oh, they're welcome to write their own. They're welcome to, but you might as well just use this one. It's already made and it's free. So it's actually a way more expensive and way more difficult to do it by yourself. But basically, the trailing stop loss trails while we're under the 20% return, and once we get above it, the whole metrics flip, and then it starts trailing above that price. So it's a really really cool system. So right now the trade is negative, but I'm not concerned about that. The safety measures are in place, fully automated, entered the trade before the show was while you were doing your thing. So we'll see how this pans out in the next 4 hours. But it's a lot of these trades only last 30 minutes, 15 minutes. So we'll see. I'm coming back to you now because I really need a cough, mate.
All right, all good, all good. Uh, okay, so let me get back to screen share real quick. I was just going through a couple of markets. I just want to follow up. So here is the Russell. This is the US small cap. While the Nasdaq and the S&P topped yesterday, the Russell basically had the candle, the God candle of its life, and it's following up again today. And remember what we say in Bitcoin, when in doubt, zoom out. And here we are on the zoom out. What an
Ah,
incredible candle, but we're not done with the zoom out. When you zoom out, you see that the Russell has been grossly underperforming the entire stock market. So
yeah.
yes, it's possible that this does not mean that a serious correction is coming to the S&P and the Nasdaq. You can probably put a little bit of a notch saying, hey, it's going to be the range of a 1 to 4 day correction, and the weekly MRI top on the S&P and the Nasdaq, and the monthly MRI top on the S&P and the Nasdaq don't matter because the Russell and the small caps are going to drive us into new all-time highs next week. But then you go take a look at the Dow transports. Once again, you can see that the top in the Dow transports on the MRI was made back in March. And you can see that right now it's a total disaster. So if you are aware of Dow theory, transports leads the rest of the market. So whatever good news you got from the Russell by its going to new all-time highs, they just got completely destroyed and annihilated by the transports and what they've done all year long. So once again, you are left with, let's wait till Tuesday, Wednesday. And if Tuesday, Wednesday, the stock market is lower than it was yesterday, I think the stock market are in trouble, and therefore Bitcoin is in trouble. But going back to Matt's, a black box trade, as long as the stock market has a beautiful rally the rest of the day, Bangbox should be able to make a nice trade. This is where I am going to go back to the S&P. This is where I'm going to open the S&P hourly chart. And the S&P hourly chart is looking absolutely beautiful on current hour. This is the 10 a.m. hour. We are almost at the 11th hour. As long as you avoid the 11 a.m. reversal and the S&P continues to do this
Yeah, wow.
and starts to challenge yesterday's highs, I think the bank box trade will make people money. But once again, Bitcoin is struggling because Germany is probably still selling thousands of Bitcoin until they're done with their 50,000 Bitcoin sale. But yeah, if I go right here, we are certainly looking good in the S&P futures as well. I don't think this will last the rest of the day. I think your bank box trade will need a little bit of luck. I don't think the S&P is going to rally into new highs. I do think the S&P rally probably has maybe 20 minutes to go. So let's hope, some whale buys into Bitcoin, brings it up into your stake profit, and the trade is over, because I am still concerned that Bitcoin will get absolutely rejected right here. But that may be enough for
That'd be enough.
Bangbox to make its profit at 58,400. You want to go back to your chart?
Yeah, look, let's and I the S&P recovering the way it is very, very, very exciting. And I agree that like it'll probably get squashed down later in the day, but if it recovers everything that it lost in yesterday's dip, that is unbelievably fantastic. And when I was just looking at the Russell looked untradeable this year. That looked untradeable. It was terribly sideways the entire year, up and down, up and down. That looked untradeable. So if it's breaking out of that consolidation that it was in for that long, that's fantastic for all the Russell people. Yeah, okay. So here we go. Nothing's happening here.
Nice, you're in
Bitcoin.
profit.
Well, we're not, because the trade was opened at the start of this candles, but I mean
Oh, okay.
it's nothing at this moment. Really, I give it some time. I think that as you say, you perfectly put it. If the S&P can rally, this will rally, and I mean this will trail the price, get pretty close to it. We might pull out at any point. We'll see how it goes. I've got confidence in this trade. Got confidence in all of them. The profits are 100% rolled over in every trade, profits and losses. So you just let it go. You just put some money in there, leave it for a year or 2 years, and just let it just play out, roll over. There's no emotion. A lot of the trades happen when you're asleep. It's absolutely brilliant. If you'd like more information, please join the Discord group. This is coming out the 20th. And also with the exchanges as well, our partners exchanges, they're giving some fantastic trading joining fees for a promotion that we're doing for Bangbox as well. That'll all be released in the next week. Can't wait. Happy Friday, everybody. That's the end of the show. Have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe. Stay strong. See you Monday. Thanks, Tom.
All right. Thank you guys for watching, and see you all